Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my goodness. Please tell me that you see the headline for this article from Fandom Pulse. Madam Web has officially posted $6 million in the box office opening day. This is worse than Morbius, ladies and gentlemen.
It's Morbin time.
I need you guys to understand the level of fail that is happening right now with Madam Web. And we all knew this was going to happen. We've said it time and time again. You would have people in my comment section. They would come out and try to say, oh, you're just being racist, you're misogynist, this, that, whatever. I'm like, bro, this movie is going to fail. It has failure written all over it. You can virtue signal for this movie all you want, but you destroyed any chance of this movie being successful for many different reasons. And we'll get into it in this video, guys. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm, guys. We're on the way to 32,000 subscribers. You guys are killing it lately. And don't forget to check out Hypnocast every single night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, our daily live stream. I would love to see you there. Now, let's talk about this absolute nonsense that's known as Madam Web, the movie that we all knew was going to bomb dramatically in the box office. Now, the only saving grace this movie has is that it has about an $80 million budget, which is a lot lower than a lot of other movies that come out in the superhero genre. But it looks like with a $6 million opener that they're not even going to be able to reach anywhere close to that number in and of itself, which again is such a travesty in the funniest way. Not a real travesty, but it's a travesty in the funniest of ways, because we saw this coming. And I love being proven right. If there's one thing I love more than being proven wrong, it's being proven right. And this is definitely being proven right. So it says Madam Web has officially become the worst performing Sony film at the box office, earning 2 abysmal trophies for its effort. The first was officially dethroning Morbius as the worst received Sony superhero film, standing at a 14% critic score and 44% audience score. And the second is bringing in the lowest opening box office at just $6 million at the box office for its first domestic day. It almost feels unfair to compare Morbius to the unmitigated disaster that is Madam Web. Jared Leto at least seemed to have some fun playing the character of Morbius. Meanwhile, Dakota Johnson was so outraged by Madam Web that she fired her talent agency and went on to complain about the production of the film being a mess. Okay, I'm not surprised at that whatsoever. I'm not surprised at that whatsoever. Man, I don't know what it's going to take. I really don't know what it's going to take for people to realize and wake up and say, these movies are just not cutting it. They're not cutting it, right? After a while, you got to understand that you can only do the same thing over and over again before you will be called insane, right? Like, this is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Madam Web is no different. This movie, everybody knew from the moment that it was announced, from the moment we saw that first trailer, everybody could tell you that this movie was going to be a bomb. We did tell you. And yet, for some very odd reason, they thought that it was perfectly fine to come out with this film anyway. They thought that this was going to be the most stunning and brave film of Sony yet. And now they're realizing really quickly what's happening to the MCU. Sony, listen to me. You guys have some fantastic Spider-Man films, okay? Fantastic Spider-Man films. You are then watching the MCU burn in front of you, right? Because it decided to become the MCU. It burns in front of you, and what do? Instead of doing the opposite and continuing your success, you decide to follow suit and do the same exact thing that the MCU is doing, but worse? Like, what made you think that Madam Web was going to be a successful movie? I would love to sit down at the meetings or whatever they have. I would love to sit down in the writer's room and just listen to these dumb fucks. Like, I really would love to understand Who thought that this film was going to be financially successful? Who thought that this film and this character, Madam Web, was going to be able to carry an entire fucking movie? Who thought that? Because whoever thought that, you need to fire them. They need to be completely out of your organization ASAP because they are costing you an insane amount of money. And this is the issue. Everybody in Hollywood is surrounded by yes men. They are all people who agree with each other. There's not a single bit of disagreement to be had in that particular sphere in Hollywood. And because of that, you have everybody agreeing with each other. Nobody wants to tell someone, hey, this is a really bad fucking idea. Maybe we shouldn't do that. No. They don't want to do that. The only time they do that is when they are thinking about making something that might lean towards conservatives or something like that. Then all of a sudden, everybody wants to come out and say, that's a terrible idea. Don't do that. But when it comes to something like this, somebody should have stood up and said this was a terrible idea. Why did you let this go through? I don't understand. It says Madam Web had a budget of $80 million, and that doesn't include any of the marketing Sony dumped on their latest trash fire. Morbius had a slightly smaller budget of just $75 million, and while universally panned, it did manage to bring in a worldwide box office total of $167 million. And for those who believe Madam Web may find a way to crawl out of the financial hole and turn a profit, Morbius also brought in more than double Madam Web's opening day with $17.3 million. Oh my god, man. These numbers are insane. When I read numbers this low for a movie that honestly, or a franchise that should just be doing so much better. It should be doing so much better. And then you killed it off anyway because you didn't even make it part of the Spider-Man universe. Like, Madam Web just takes place in its own little thing. Like, you're not actually making it part of anything. So now you have an Elseworld story with a character nobody gives a shit about that most people haven't even heard about. And then those that did hear about the character, they're not even getting that version of the character. They're not getting the Madam Web that they read in the comic books. They're getting some CW version of Madam Web that nobody fucking wants to see. So now you just, I don't understand, man. Why? Is the message that important? Is the message that important? I guess it is, man. I guess it is. Madam Web is already under fire for changing Spider-Man's iconic "with great power comes great responsibility" line. In the film, she instead said, when you take on the responsibility, great power will come. Of course she did, because women always got to do it better, right? The cast appeared desperate at the premiere, appearing in scandalous attire in order to try to distract from the film's content with their near-nude bodies on display. This wasn't indicative of what was in Madam Web, as there wasn't very much of Sydney Sweeney to be viewed in a cheesecake manner to save the film. There are many reasons why Madam Web was destined to fail. The signs were apparent from the day the film was announced, and while it does have some talented actresses, they could not redeem the awful decisions made by the directors and the writer. Now, the funny thing is that usually is the case, isn't it? Like, you usually will have people who are not that terrible of an actor or an actress, right? Like, you will have those people that are halfway decent or could probably do a decent job. But the problem is these characters are written so bad that it doesn't matter how good of an actor you have. Chances are you can have some of the best actors around and you're still going to bomb. You're still going to do terrible because the writing is that bad. So now you have a double issue. Now you have actresses who don't really have that great of an experience, at least not in superhero films. And then you couple it with terrible, god-awful writing from people who don't know the source material, from people who don't care about the source material, and then you mash it all up and you get a nice soup of bullshit. That's basically what you get. The only real question that remains is how much lower can Madam Web fall? How do you think Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney's Madam Web will perform through the weekend? I don't think this is going to do well at all. I think if it makes more than $100 million worldwide, I would be heavily surprised. They're going to have to keep this in the box office for as long as possible in order for it to drag itself across the mud and try to make some money. But ultimately, all Madam Web saw was the future of its own failures. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.